So most people, when they're looking for a new area to live, they pull up a map, they look at it, and quite frankly, they probably get a little bit more confused than they were before they open up the map, especially if they've never lived in the area before. So we're going to break down the Twin Cities, kind of show you different aspects of it right now, and hopefully give you a little bit more insight about various areas of the Twin Cities by the end of this video. So grab a coffee and let's go a little bit deeper into this. So the Twin Cities in general as a whole. If we really look at the big picture, the entire circle here is the Twin Cities. And we'll even zoom out a little bit more because you pretty much go from here down to New Prague, over to Elko Newmarket, up over to Hudson, up to Chisago City, north of Elk River. It's a pretty big swath. And it has the two main cities that everybody knows, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. And right down the middle, dividing both of them, is the Mississippi River. And the Mississippi River divides those pretty much right in two. So ultimately, there's a beltway, if you will, around the majority of the populace in the Twin Cities. And we're going to call that the 494-694 loop. And it runs really around the entire exterior of the majority of the population, like I said, in the Twin Cities. The 7-county metro area is about 3,000 square miles and right about 3.8 million residents. 494 actually stretches for about 43 miles, and the airport is fairly conveniently located right here, just outside the city limits of the city of Minneapolis, and quite frankly, just outside the city limits of the city of St. Paul, which is nice. So Minneapolis itself has 13 lakes right inside of its boundaries. The biggest is going to be Bede-Makasaka, and then you have also Lake Harriet, Lake of the Isles, and Cedar Lake, along with Lake Nokomis. So those are going to be the biggest lakes inside the city limits. Again, there's other ones that I didn't mention. Don't get upset if I didn't mention your favorite lake, but they're there. I just mentioned the ones that are the biggest. So the downtown area in Minneapolis is pretty much located right here, north of 94, west of 35W, and then east of 94 where it goes north. So right in here is the downtown. It's going to be southwest of the Mississippi River and easy to get to. A lot of arteries going in and out of downtown. The one thing that's awesome about the Twin Cities in general is we just don't have the traffic that some other cities do. So the downtown business district is right here in Minneapolis. So here we have the North Loop area, which is just kind of northwest, if you will, of the downtown basic general business district. So then we have uptown just to the east of Bede-Makasaka, and then we have, it's also right kind of east of Lake of the Isles here too. So you can kind of see this red outline here is where uptown actually sits. Then we have the chain of lakes, which is Lake Harriet that flows into Bede-Makasaka, and then Lake of the Isles, and then Lake Calhoun. So you progressively get more expensive as you go north, maybe with the exception of Cedar. So all the homes are fairly expensive right around the lake. So from Lake Harriet to Bede-Makasaka to Lake of the Isles. Lake of the Isles in general probably has the most expensive homes right around it. Don't get me wrong. There's some outliers around Bede-Makasaka and Harriet that rival a lot of the things on Lake of the Isles, but in general, it goes more expensive from south to north, with the exception of Cedar. Cedar's got some really nice homes on it. Just they don't tend to be more expensive than Lake of the Isles. So stadiums, as far as what we have, there's 3 basic stadiums that we're going to have in downtown, really. I mean, one's going to be in the North Loop. So let's go to where the Twins play. Target Field sits here barely in the North Loop, and that's an awesome place. And then for seeing the baseball game, open air field, rated one of the best baseball stadiums in the entire country for Major League Baseball. And then from there, on the east side of downtown, we're going to have US Bank Stadium, highlighted right there. Super easy to get in and out of, lots of parking around that stadium. And then right downtown here, we're going to have Target Center, which is where the Minnesota Timberwolves play. Remodeled it a couple times over the years. Again, a great place to go and watch a basketball game. So later, I'm going to show you how job location basically tells you where you want to live, whether it's in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or any of the surrounding suburbs. So let's talk about overall the western suburbs. So we're going to zoom out and go here to the western suburbs. And one of the smallest but the wealthiest western suburbs is Wayzata, which is going to be out in this general area here. Premier Lake Minnetonka address, downtown, really right in here, right on the water. Spectacular, great downtown. It's really cool vibe, lake life living, can't go wrong with it. Then from there, we're gonna go down to Chanhassen, which you can see right down in here. So we got Chanhassen, growing, newer construction. It's more accessible as far as a price point than Wayzata, but it still has a strong west side position. From there, we'll head on a little bit further south to Chaska. And Chaska is, an old river town, if you will. It's on the Minnesota River. Cool old vibe, a really neat downtown area that has all sorts of original buildings from the late 1800s, has some good breweries and very walkable. It's got a really fun kind of town square too that's right here. So really nice town, relatively affordable from a housing standpoint. A little bit longer drive though to downtown. So, with Wayzata, you're going to have your price point start right about 900 up into the multiple millions of dollars. Chanhassen is really going to be in the mid 600s with strong inventory and new builds. Chaska, really to downtown, you're going to have a 30 to 40 minute travel time pretty easily. And then Hazelton National Golf Club is right in Chaska. So that's kind of fun and a big draw because there are many championship golf tournaments that are actually played there. The commute math really matters out here because, there's easy access, but once you get down to Chaska, you're kind of forced to decide how you want to get to downtown, really Minneapolis. Depending on where you are in Chaska, you could easily go a little bit further south and take 169 over the river, or you could take Chaska up to 212 and take 212 in. Most people probably take 212 and right off of Chestnut Boulevard or 41. So let's talk a little bit about the south and the southwest metro. So let's focus a little bit on the south specifically. We'll zoom out here a little bit, but right down the south of Minneapolis, you're going to have Edina, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then we get into Bloomington. And Bloomington is a pretty big The southern border of Bloomington is going to be the Minnesota River. And then pretty much 169 is going to be the western border. And then 494 is going to be the northern border of Bloomington. And bring it right over to the Minnesota River. So again, Minnesota River, 169, 494, that's kind of the border of Bloomington. Then south of Bloomington, we have the city of Burnsville, which is just south of the Minnesota River, and right in here. Burnsville and Apple Valley really are, right next to each other. They're classic, established southern suburbs well connected, easy to get to the airport, easy to get to both downtown, very much so developed. Burnsville's probably a little bit more developed than Apple Valley itself. Apple Valley still has a little bit of new construction, but Burnsville really doesn't have almost any. And then we get down to Lakeville. It really kind of starts to get interesting down there. Lakeville is kind of the next city of lakes, if you will, because we have Crystal Lake, we have Orchard Lake, which is right here, and then we have Lake Marion, which is right here. Additionally, there are just tons of huge parks in Lakeville. We have Ritter Farm Park right here, Murphy Hinterhand butts right up to parts of Lakeville, and then from there there's just parks galore in the city of Lakeville. A lot of new construction happening there. It's the fastest growing city in the state of Minnesota, which is also kind of an interesting thing. So from there, kind of interesting things about each area a little bit. The city of Bloomington is where the Mall of America is located. It's the largest mall in the United States, and it is the second largest mall in North America, only behind the Edmonton Mall, I believe, in Edmonton. So but a very, very large mall with over 30 million visitors a year. The airport access from Bloomington, really easy because it's right there. So you get really fast airport access via Cedar 494. You can get right to the airport from anywhere right in Bloomington here pretty easily. So with Burnsville and Apple Valley, your home prices are going to start in the 300s and go up into the 400s. You get more home the further out you go. The trade-off that you're going to have there is obviously going to be a little bit longer commute, but if you're fortunate to be able to work from home, well, game on. That can help you out and makes it so a lot easier than driving every day, right? So we get into Northeast Minneapolis, which is right in this area here. There's more craft breweries packed into this area per capita than probably any place in the state of Minnesota. There's 20 plus tap rooms that are all within a short walk of each other, and you have places like Brewhouse, Indeed Brewing, and Fair State. So it tells you everything about who lives here and the energy of the neighborhood. It's really much kind of hipster, if you will, I'd like to call it. So key stats basically on pricing is homes are in the 300,000 to 600,000. There's a decent amount of inventory between 350 and 500. Very easy commute to the Central Business District or to go to a football, baseball, or basketball game between Target Field, Target Center, and US Bank Stadium. Just they're all right there. And the University of Minnesota is also extremely close, which right here is the Twin Cities campus. Really great access to education, to retail, to business, to interstates, to airports, to breweries, and all sorts of entertainment. It's kind of all right there. So that's an awesome place if you want to live in Northeast. Really kind of a great hipster vibe that a lot of people like. So let's talk a little bit about northern suburbs that are actually inside of the 494, 694 loop, if you will. And we'll look at, so here we have Robbinsdale, Golden Valley, and St. Louis Park. So with St. Louis Park, it's going to border Minneapolis actually directly, great access to the lakes and city access. And then Golden Valley up here, we're going to have, it borders also Minneapolis parks, specifically Theodore Wirth Park. Good access as far as trail corridors. Lucy Line Regional Trail access is right there. So Robbinsdale here, you can see the outline. It's a little bit closer in, established neighborhoods, solid housing stock. So some key stats. St. Louis Park prices are going to be that 350 to 600 with a strong concentration of homes, really in that 400 to 550 range. Key stat is, parts of St. Louis Park are less than 5 minutes from downtown. The West End in St. Louis Park is a great retail location. A lot of people love it for retail, for shopping, and so forth. Has a bunch of really nice restaurants. They've completely redone that whole area, which it's one of my actually favorite areas to go. Very active lifestyle feel there. There's a lot of living in apartments going up. So if you don't know where you're going to live yet in the Twin Cities, kind of nice because, good place to maybe live for a year or two and scope out the west side of the metro. Best value corridor is really where we're talking about, between St. Louis Park and Golden Valley and Robbinsdale. All have good value with proximity to downtown and less expensive than right around the lakes, right? So a lot of people will start in the Edinas or the Minnetonkas, and then when they realize they can get a lot more bang for their buck in these northern suburbs that are inside of 494, they end up gravitating to those, and for good reason. So let's talk about northern suburbs that are for the most part outside of the 494/694 belt loop. So the first that we'll go to is going to be Plymouth and Maple Grove. And so Plymouth and Maple Grove are going to be right in this general area. Plymouth has 80,000 plus people. It's one of the biggest cities actually in Minnesota, not just a suburb. Lots of corporate offices, multiple distinct neighborhoods, and it's got a wide range of pricing. We'll kind of zoom in here a little bit so you can see the borders. Pretty much a square area. We've got biggest lake is Medicine Lake. Homes on Medicine Lake are really anywhere from that 750 up into the low millions. You can get stuff, 2 million. Not a lot of turnover itself on the lake, but again, 80,000 people live right there in Plymouth, and so it's actually the most search area in the metro for relocating buyers. The school district is going to be, for the most part, Wayzata schools there. So from there, we will go up to Maple Grove, and Maple Grove is known for being the direct neighbor to Plymouth, and you can see they're relatively about the same size as far as a general geographic area. Very easy as far as convenience to major highways, because we got 610 and we got 94, and then we got 94 and the 494 split. Once again, quite a few lakes that are there, and shopping area. Maple Grove has got the Arbor Lakes shopping area, which is really known really throughout the Twin Cities. It's a great area for shopping, and it's got the shops at Arbor Lakes, which is a great place. All the various different foods that you could want, different shopping experiences. It's got a little bit of everything, so it's probably one of the better shopping complexes in all of the Twin Cities, in my humble opinion. So really with getting back to Plymouth, kind of the key stats that we're going to talk about with that. So key stats about Plymouth is going to be prices are starting really in the 400s up to $1 million plus, depending on the neighborhood and if you're on like a lake like Medicine Lake. And then once we go up to Maple Grove, the prices, which is just north of Plymouth, right? The prices are going to be high 300s to 700 plus, really, with new construction. So from here, we're going to go to the northwest suburbs, which are going to be north of Maple Grove. And we're going to talk about Champlin, Dayton, Rogers, and Seago, so we can kind of see where they are located relatively. You're going to get a little bit more bang for your buck the further out you go, because a little bit more further commute, right? So see Champlin here butts up against the Mississippi River, and it's going to be, just to the north side of Osseo, and then we can zoom out and look a little bit at where that sits in general. It's still in Hennepin County, but barely in Hennepin County. So then we have Dayton, which is also in Hennepin County, and we're which we got right in here. Again, the Mississippi River is the border of the northern border, really, of Dayton. And from there, we keep going up 94 to the Rogers area. And we'll zoom in a little bit, show you the border of Rogers instead of me just circling it blindly. You can see here we have Rogers. 94 splits it right down the middle, and then you can also see it also has a ton of parks and places to hang out. Gets to be a little bit more further removed from the Twin Cities, so a little bit more bang for your buck as far as housing is going to be concerned out there. And then we can go in and look at Elk River, which is going to be right here north of Otsego, actually. And you can see the boundaries of Elk River. Kind of cool thing is they have the ERX Motor Park, which hosts all sorts of motorsport stuff, including snowmobiling activities and things like that, right along 169. 169 is one of the major corridors too to get up to Lake Country. You know, if you're going up towards Brainerd or Pequot Lakes or a lot of the lakes in central Minnesota, a lot of people will go up 169 to get to like Lake Mille Lacs, which is considered one of the best walleye fisheries in the world. Is right directly off of 169. So when you think about some kind of key things, there's some trade-offs. You got more of a drive out here, is part of the thing that you're going to have to deal with. Additionally from that, Elk River and Otsego, they're true exurbs because they're outside of the traditional footprint of the Twin Cities. They just get to be a further drive, but that's okay. A lot of people commute from home, right? Key stats about Rogers: it's 22 miles northwest of downtown along 94. Champlin, Dayton, you can get homes in the mid 400s to 600s. Elk River, Otsego is going to be the 400s to the 700s. These are going to be best for remote workers or buyers that are willing to trade that commute and lifestyle that they want of being further out and having a little bit more space. So next we're gonna kind of scoot over St. Paul. So every area fits a person differently. The key is finding the correct fit for you. If you want help narrowing it down, email team@hhgus.com or fill out our form in the description below. We've helped thousands of buyers relocate here, and we'll give you a clear answer. If you want to see where the ultra wealthy actually live, watch the video linked right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video and at the next house.